Welcome back. This video is all about dynamic casting. We have seen in the previous video the problem that if a derived class is publicly inherited from the base class, then it is allowed to use the interface of the base class. But the base class can't use the public interface of the derived class. So to resolve this problem, we use dynamic casting. Dynamic casting is a casting process in which we safely use downcast, mean cast a base class pointer reference to derived class pointer or reference. It can meanwhile also be used for upcasting, which can be also be used implicitly. So the syntax of writing the dynamic casting is as below. We have a source pointer, the pointer to be casted, and the in the angle bracket we have the type which the pointer needed to be cast into. So to use dynamic casting, the base class should contain at least one virtual function. We will see it in the code. What is it? And if the conversion succeeds, it returns a pointer, else it returns null, and it checks the consistency at the runtime. It will give you no error at the compile time. This is why it is slower than static cast. So we will see an example code, and then you will get a better understanding about the dynamic casting. So we have a parent class here named shape, and then a derived class named square. And here I'm just upcasting. In the beginning, I have a pointer. I have a object created of class square, and then I'm just casting that object into the pointer of the base class, which is shape. So this will proceed normally because this is just making sense that we have created an object of the child class, and then its constructor has been called, and then when its object has been created, the constructor of the base class first is called, and then the constructor of itself has been called, and then has been assigned dynamically to a pointer, and then we have called a function, member function of the derived class. We have the same function as in the derived class as well as the base class. So this function will override the function of the base class, and this value will be printed. So in case of upcasting, what we do is we have a pointer, we have an object of our class, the base class, and then we just assign value to its constructor. In this case, we have a constructor, parameterized constructor, so we have to assign the value. So it just doesn't make sense to do this casting, because when we create the object of the base class, its constructor has been called, but the constructor of the derived class has not been called. So when we cast the base class pointer into the pointer of the object into the pointer of the base class, then this casting will cause an error, and we have seen that there is no compile time error, but this will give an error at the runtime, and that will be the bad SS error. This is because I have told you that the constructor of the base class has been called, but it hasn't called the constructor of the derived class. The derived class may have some extra functionalities, like in this code we have a extra data member, which is value, which is side, and its value has been set by value, and then we are displaying the square, which is side static side. So this will be just an error statement. So we have an alternate solution to this. We have to write some codes to get through this, but we will. So what we do is we will have a function which has the return type as the pointer of the base class and in which we have called the constructor of the base class. Then first we had created the object a pointer which will call the function we have created here, and this will receive two values here, and these two values will be passed on to the constructor of the base class. So the base class constructor has been called. This will call the constructor of our the constructor of the derived class has been called by this statement, and this will call the constructor of our base class. So after this will be assigned to our shape pointer. Shape pointer is of base class, and then this whole value has been assigned to a pointer called which has the return type shape. So what we're doing next is we are just casting that squad value into a pointer of the base class. This is the downcasting. This is where we can downcast a base class into a derived class pointer. So then if we try to access the member function of the derived class which has been overridden, then it will print this statement like this. There has been printed the statement. So there can be an invalid casting, like if you have a function like this and then you have another child class like this which has been publicly inherited from the same base class, and then you try to create a pointer of this class as well, like we have seen the function written over here, and we try to cast this class into this child class. So casting between these two classes is prohibited. This will not be allowed. The only way of casting, safe casting, is upcasting. We can do downcasting, but by using these written function methods, we have to just create a pointer function which will call the constructor, and then we can assign the value. There is no chance that we haven't called the constructor of the derived class, and without calling that constructor we are just calling the constructor of base class and assigning that base class reference or pointer to the pointer of the derived class, and it will just assess the member of the derived class which have no value being assigned. So this is just prohibited. So I hope you get the better understanding, and if you don't, please comment. I will make sure that you got the point.